Welcome to a new session on the course School Organization, Administration and Management. Here we will discuss certain topics like mental health and its importance, factors on which mental and emotional health depends, causes of mental illness or maladjustment, measures to secure mental health, need and importance of sex education, role of teachers and parents in sex education and methods of imparting sex education. First, let us discuss mental health. Mental health is health of the mind as physical health is health of the body. As physical health means harmony and cooperation of all the organs of the body, mental health means harmonious functioning of the whole personality. In its broadest sense, mental health means the measures of a person's ability to shape his or her environment and to adjust to life with a reasonable amount of success, efficiency and happiness. Mentally healthy persons are generally good workers, good friends, good citizens and good parents. A healthy mind maintains an even temper, an alert intelligence, socially considerate behavior and a happy disposition. Dr. C.K. Bush defines mental health as the ability to get along with oneself and with others and to be independent in most things, but at the same time to realize how dependent we are on others in our present day complicated society. A mentally healthy person can withstand adversity without being depressed and can rise up and try again. He or she is not self-centered but is interested in others and helps others without expecting any reward. Importance of mental health. Physical health and mental health are closely related together. A healthy mind can be found in a healthy body. Physical fitness is not an end in itself, but only a means to promote the mental and moral health of the child. Good health is not merely a matter of the body alone, but also of the mind and the spirit. It is therefore impossible to deal intelligently with all aspects of physical health without having sufficient knowledge of mental health. A healthy mind, no less than a vigorous physique, is a worthy end in itself, and it is an important means of contributing to the fulfillment of all other human wants and desires. Healthy mindedness is essential to productivity and enjoyment in nearly every wholesome enterprise, and its cultivation is largely a matter of education. This is the importance of mental health. In the words of Thomas D. Wood, the child's mental health and balance are of the utmost importance in relation to the general health. The complexity and stresses of modern living make necessary consideration of their mental hygiene if they are to meet them successfully. This is now definitely an educational responsibility. It is of paramount importance to give due attention to the development of mental health of children. There are mental laws, principles, situations which help in the development of healthy minds of children. Any disregard to these may lead to mental disorders and conflict, which ultimately may bring frustration, misery and unhappiness. Teachers in the school can play a major role in providing such an environment in which children develop healthy mental attitudes. What constitutes a healthy mind? Some of the characteristics of a healthy mind are normal appetite, calmness, cheerful outlook, good temper, socially acceptable habits, well-regulated instincts, healthy philosophy of life, normal physical vitality, receptivity to new ideas, normal sex consciousness, good temper, energetic and strong will. Now let us see some of the features of mental disorders. Undue anxiety, easily embarrassed in the presence of others, lack of courage, undeveloped habits and will, low intelligence, irritability, moodiness, depressed and pessimistic outlook, full of prejudice, abnormal interest in sex and bad temper. Factors on which mental and emotional health depends. Mental and emotional health depends on a number of factors, and some of the major factors are: 1. Sublimation of instincts and emotions. Instincts are natural urges or inborn tendencies in an animal to feel and behave towards a particular stimulus in a characteristic manner. Instincts are primary movers and their function is mechanical without intelligence and foresight. Emotions are intense feelings which stir up the whole organism. Every instinct of self-preservation gives rise to the emotion of fear, while the instinct of food seeking gives rise to the emotion of hunger and thirst. Thus, emotional factors are very important in the maintenance of good mental health or its breakdown. It is therefore essential that instincts and emotions are controlled and sublimated. They must be right for the occasion. 2. The formation of good habits. Habit is an acquired tendency to repeat an action or a movement. It is a reaction that gets fixed as a result of practice and repetition. All education is a continued process of the cultivation of certain habits, like the habit of thinking, feeling and action. It is the teacher's function to encourage pupils in the formation of good habits and avoidance of bad ones. Good habits are of great value in matters of mental and emotional health. On the other hand, bad habits like stealing, gambling, drinking and telling lies creates a lot of mental and emotional disturbance in the child's mind. Third is the acquisition of strong and healthy sentiments. Sentiment is an attitude or a feeling towards an object or a person. It is more or less a fixed type of feeling. Sentiments are acquired. They are not natural urges. They are the foundation of the character and personality of an individual. Broadly speaking, sentiments are only particular types of habits, but they have a great influence on the mental and emotional health of an individual. A weak sentiment may cause mental illness, while a strong sentiment may be a factor of strong health. Fourth is the avoidance of mental conflict. Conflict means a state of tension caused by a struggle between two opposing impulses. Tension in one's mind may arise because of certain environment, social or economic conditions which may stand in the way of the strong desires and wishes. In that case, a feeling of discomfort and frustration is experienced by the individual, which is extremely painful. Therefore, such conflicts may be avoided as far as possible for maintaining mental equilibrium. The fifth is proper adjustment. Life is a continuous process of adjustment with one's physical and social environments. As soon as home or society fails to satisfy any or some of the needs, the individual goes out of adjustment with it. Then the individual is said to be maladjusted. Maladjustment causes conflict and a sense of frustration, which must be avoided under all circumstances for maintaining good health. Sixth is faith and confidence. Another important factor of good mental and emotional health is confidence in one's own self and in others. Such confidence and faith keep frustration far away from the individual and enable them to live fairly comfortable even in these upsetting and insecure times. Besides these psychological factors, mental health also depends upon certain physical factors. The foremost among them are physical health, nutritious diet, and rest. Thus, mental health is primarily concerned with the sublimation of emotions and with the development of well-adjusted personalities. An individual's ability to adjust to life and its problems with a reasonable degree of satisfaction, success, and happiness is a definite function of health education. So, the teacher of health education should help children in adjustment to the inner and outer strains of life in a manner which is reasonably satisfactory both to the individual and to the society in which they live. It is a matter of great relief that our educationists have begun to realize the importance of mental health. Feeling of insecurity and feeling of inferiority are two great enemies of mental health. A knowledge of mental hygiene helps us to kill these two evils. A psychological approach is needed for that. Our attempts should be to provide suitable emotional, physical, and intellectual environment in which a child may have the feeling of security and the feeling of equality. They should feel that their personality is respected and given a suitable place in the society. Causes of mental illness or maladjustment. These are the main causes of mental illness of school children. 1. Disturbed home environment. It may be due to unhappy married life of parents, emotional and drunkard parents, and low moral or social standards of the family. Second is poverty. When poor children met rich children in the school, they sometimes develop jealousy, worry, and inferiority complex, which lead to emotional disturbance. Third is faulty methods of teaching. Faulty methods of teaching do not motivate students. Lessons become dull. Students begin to hate every process of education. Then there is emotional tension in their mind, which leads to mental illness. Fourth is the faulty emotional behavior of teachers. Some teachers themselves need emotional stability. Such emotionally unbalanced teachers are themselves a prey to inferiority complex, persistent worries, and overexcited emotions. Innocent children may become mentally ill under such teachers. Fifth is strict discipline. Some traditional schools impose strict discipline. Their students always suffer from fear and constant worry. They have no peace of mind and tranquility of emotions. Sixth is the defective physical conditions of the school. Schools with dark, dingy classrooms and without any provision of extensive lawns and playgrounds bring fatigue and boredom to students. They are soon fed up with the school and its activities. Seventh is the lack of equipment. In some schools, there is lack of furniture and proper equipment. Then there is overcrowding of pupils. In such conditions, pupils cannot work peacefully. There is always frustration and mental tension. Eighth is the lack of educational and vocational guidance. Some schools insist on the mastery of academic subjects only without caring for the interests and aptitudes of students. This leads to frustration and emotional disturbance. No educational and vocational guidance is provided to students at the junior, secondary, high and senior secondary stages. No aptitude tests are given. So, the students are not advised to take up subjects and activities according to their mental inclination and interest. Ninth is heavy curricular and home task as well as faulty examination system. These days there is a heavy load of many subjects on the minds of students. Then different subject teachers assign them too much home task in their respective subjects. So, the students remain constantly worried. This leads to the curtailment of their leisure and freedom, which adversely affects their personality. At the end of the school session, the annual examination system also has many faults. The success or failure of a pupil depends upon this single examination only. No credit is given to his or her social, aesthetic, cultural and physical achievements. This leads to frustration and emotional disturbance. We shall now discuss some of the measures to secure mental health. Mental health means cheerfulness, well-regulated instincts and habits, normal sex consciousness, a healthy philosophy of life, good temper, calmness and optimistic outlook. The teacher should try to provide suitable emotional, physical and intellectual environment to his or her pupils in which they should feel that their individuality is respected and they are assigned a suitable and secure place. Some measures which may be adopted to secure the mental health of pupils are: 1. Close pupil-teacher contacts. The teacher should carefully observe the child in and outside the school and should know the child and their home conditions. This will help the feeling of oneness in the mind of the child who feels that the teacher is interested in their welfare. Second, favorable home and school environment. Unfavorable home and school environment leads to mental disorders. Parents should be guided to adopt good methods of upbringing. The child should be free from unsatisfactory relationships and strict discipline. Treatment by the parents should be just and impartial. Too much fondling may lead to emotional maladjustment. The treatment of the teachers should be just and fair. Third is medical examination. There should be provision for medical examination in schools and remedial measures be adopted to safeguard the health of the child. Defective physique becomes a contributory factor of mental disorder. Cases requiring special treatment should be sent to child guidance clinics. The fourth is the intellectual life of the school. Sound methods of teaching suited to the individual needs of the child should be adopted. Activity methods like playway, project method, etc. should be encouraged. Audiovisual aids develop interest in the lesson. Special time and attention must be devoted to weak students. Fifth is the provision of educational and vocational guidance centers. Schools should start such centers. It is not necessary to appoint full-time psychologists in schools. Trained teachers may be asked to undergo short educational and vocational guidance courses and the work of guidance be entrusted to them. For especially difficult cases, intelligence, aptitude and personality tests may be conducted. Sixth is the provision of co-curricular activities. Properly planned activities are very helpful in providing much needed and useful training in civic sense. Sublimation of instincts is also achieved. Seventh is the freedom and self-discipline. Unnecessary rules and regulations greatly upset the mental equilibrium of the child. A child who breathes in an atmosphere of freedom develops initiative and courage. Severe punishments result in mental agony. Eighth is teachers' mental hygiene and dynamic personality. The teachers should be mentally alert to develop mental alertness in the students. They should be painstaking, sympathetic, appreciative and trusting. They should not have any prejudice which may have an adverse effect on the emotional and intellectual conditions of children. They should always have higher ideals of life before them. Ninth is social and cultural functions. Social and cultural functions like play, recreation, dancing, singing, acting, community dinner and many such activities not only give pleasure to students, but also saves them from developing inferiority or superiority complex, and many other mental deformities. Such functions also help in developing self-confidence and self-control and save students from mental excitement. 10th is yogic practices. Yoga is now forming an important part of health and physical education. Such yogic practices help a lot in securing mental health. Functions and responsibilities of teachers. The teacher has a very important role to play in the school health service program. He or she comes into contact with the children so often that they are likely to be the first person to notice functional signs of diseases, which appears before physical signs. The teacher should know the signs of different diseases, incubation period after exposure, the duration of communicability and the means of transmission. The teacher has the added responsibility of reflecting health teaching in a positive way. Both the physical and mental health of the teacher must be good, for both have a strong effect upon the developing personalities with whom the teacher comes in extended contact. The health practices and attitudes acquired by the pupils, the quality of the human relationships and the emotional climate that exists in the room are almost without exception reflections of the behavior and example of the teacher. Here we shall have a discussion on the need and importance of sex education. Sex education, scientifically imparted and rightly understood, plays an important role in improving the quality of life. It has also a great bearing on understanding population dynamics. There is a need for soul searching on why sex education, in spite of its importance, has by and large remained neglected at various stages of education. Talking about sex is ordinarily considered something secretive, sinful or not worthy of mention in sophisticated and so-called cultured society. People feel very much inhibited in talking about sex. But without sex education, people cannot live a happy and well-adjusted life, because it has been noted that many marital, emotional and mental problems among human beings occur as a result of the misdirection and the wrong understanding of the sex urge. Alva Myrdal has observed, in general, more wholesome attitudes towards sex questions will not be created until they are discussed openly and as a matter of fact phenomena. Children ask questions about sex as a subject fascinates them, and it is our answer and the way we give them that plays an important part in forming their future attitude towards sex. Frank and honest response can help them to develop a healthy outlook. Professor Uday Shankar is of the firm opinion, population education without sex education is ridiculous, as the how of population control cannot be answered without sex education. Sex education is no imposition. It concerns a vital matter in which children are interested. Interest in sex is instinctive and starts from early infancy. In pre-adolescent boys and girls, the sex drive is further. Enlightenment on sexual matter is to be given intelligently and pleasantly, but gradually and methodically. There cannot be any general rules as to the time and place or manner of imparting sex education. Through the teaching of general science, biology, physiology or hygiene, a good deal of physiological knowledge about sex differences and about animal and human reproduction involving all the process of mating, fertilization, pregnancy or birth can be imparted. Meaning of sex education. Sex education may be defined as education for the protection, preservation, improvement and development of an ideal family enjoying quality of life with an understanding of human reproduction as its integral and inseparate part based on accepted ethical values regarding sex. Aims and objectives of sex education. In the publication School Health Education, Professor H.F. Kilander has given certain aims and objectives of sex and family life education. 1. Developing normal and wholesome attitudes and ideals in relation to sex and family. 2. Developing desirable habits, behavior and conduct in accordance with such attitudes and ideals. 3. Acquiring knowledge and understanding of matters related to the physiology of human reproduction and related aspects of life. 4. Correcting and alleviating some of the common worries and misconceptions in the field of sexual adjustment. And 5. Contributing to the emotional and social growth of the individual so that he or she can function adequately as a member of family and eventually as a parent. We shall now see some of the agencies of sex education. 1. Home and family. 2. Religious institutions. 3. Community and the society. And 4. The school. Role of teachers and parents in sex education. These are some of the suggestive guidelines and measures which should be adapted to provide sex education, as it plays an important role in controlling population and ensuring quality of life. Simple questions of children are sometimes difficult to answer. When a child is very young, one can make up any number of stories to convince him or her, but young boys and girls are keen to seek answers in depth. They may investigate, adventure or explore to find out the answers. Sometimes they find them out in the wrong way. In a growing child, there is development of the body about which they are confused. There is also growth of mind and awareness. Their quest for information needs to be addressed. Nothing is better than direct communication between parents and youngsters. Parents and teachers should not be thrown off guard by awkward questions. They should have the presence of mind and answer some questions in fun and some in utter seriousness, so that the child gets a positive signal that though sex is a private thing, there is nothing shameful about it. In this way, children are able to confide in their teachers and parents and look upon them as friends, which in turn keeps the teachers and parents informed about children's activities. Guidelines for imparting sex education in schools. D. Oberteffer has suggested some guidelines in his book School Health Education for imparting sex education in schools. 1. Sex education include biological, moral, psychological and social aspects of sex, because sex education involves the whole person and the whole lifestyle. 2. Sex education is concerned with both facts and values. 3. While planning sex education, individual differences and the developmental needs of children should be kept in view. 4. Teachers who impart sex education should be carefully selected and properly prepared for this task. 5. Instructional methods for imparting sex education should be based on sound psychological principles. 6. Sex education should be a continuous process. 7. Correlation and integration approach should be followed in imparting sex education. And 8. There should be a continuous evaluation. Now we shall see some of the methods of imparting sex education. 1. Documentaries can be shown to teenagers in schools. If made properly, they can easily hold their attention. 2. Plays, seminars and workshops organized in school can also achieve this goal, where the situations leading to problems can be dealt with. 3. Students can directly approach the teachers or counselors to have their confusions cleared. 4. Students can be asked to write questions on a paper without revealing their identity so that shy students too can have answers. Teachers may be cautioned that they are likely to receive a few embarrassing, awkward and maybe downright obscene questions or drawings which ought to be taken with an equanimity of mind and understanding. This may need discussion as to why some children do so. Over-suppressed, overexposed, or those children who are denied recognition by their parents of their sexual development may do these kinds of things and therefore are required to be reassured and gently pushed in the right direction. 5. Specially trained teachers separately for girls and boys in the initial phase or doctors can be called to give a few lectures to remove misconceptions and doubts. 6th, good books are best companions at all ages. They can serve the purpose of educating a curious mind where parents feel restricted in communicating with the children. This way, parents also know that whatever a child is reading is healthy and beneficial for him or her. 7th, guidance from an elderly relative can also serve the very important role of a confidant to the teenager in the family. Let us summarize the points we have just discussed. Our educationists have begun to realize the importance of mental health. Feeling of insecurity and the feeling of inferiority are the two great enemies of mental health. A knowledge of mental hygiene helps to kill these two aspects. A psychological approach is needed. Our attempts should be to provide a suitable emotional, physical and intellectual environment in which a child may have the feeling of security and the feeling of equality. They should feel that their personality is respected and given a suitable place. Sex education should be scientifically imparted. Sex education concerns a vital matter in which children are interested. Interest in sex is instinctive and started from early infancy. In adolescent boys and girls, the sex drives further. Enlightenment on sexual matter is to be given intelligently and pleasantly, but gradually and methodically. Thank you for watching the session on mental, emotional health and sex education. See you again with a new topic. Till then, goodbye.